Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Richard Sear. I'm a partner and senior vice president at Frost & Sullivan, and hope everyone is well. We are excited to bring you today's webinar. This is part of the Customer Contact Webinar Week series, obviously number 4 of 5 for this week, with experts who will share their experience and insight on the new daily challenges that are ahead of us. So today, we're very lucky to have Brent Sparks. Brent is a Senior Director of Self-Service Platforms, Customer Success Products at PayPal, and he leads a team of product managers and owners who are focused on providing successful customer experiences throughout the self-service space. We're also lucky to have Crystal Collier with us. She's an Executive Consultant at PTP. Crystal is devoted to CX and improving the interaction between employees and customers across a variety of industries, and they're going to be talking to us today about self-service strategy before, during, and after a crisis. So I'm going to hand it over to you, team. I'm going to stop sharing here.
All righty. Thanks, Richard. Good day, everyone. Hi, Brent. How are you?
Hey there. Good morning.
So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to get started.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop my share. There you go. There you go.
How's that?
Perfect.
All right, great. So thank you for being here, everyone. On behalf of PTP, we are happy to be sponsoring with Frost & Sullivan Pivot for Agility this week. That certainly resonates with the world that we are all in. And thank you to Brent. PayPal has been a partner with PTP for about the past 10 years. We help PayPal with self-service and interaction routing, from developing use cases all the way through to creating and deploying technology. So Brent, thanks for joining us today. And we're looking forward to hearing about the self-service journey.
Yeah, thanks, Crystal. Really glad to be here. So, we've had a great partnership with PTP over the years. And when I heard about the opportunity to share a little bit of our story here, it was definitely something that we were interested in being a part of. I've been in the self-service, kind of the contact center technology space for more than 20 years. And we'll certainly say that this year is the most interesting. It has been quite an adventure over the last couple of months as we've had to adapt some of our tools and techniques to help service customers in a new way. My group specifically is focused on what we've defined as the self-service journey. So as a customer is making their way through the website or the mobile app and they're looking for help, my team owns the product set that helps provide information and solutions in that space, as well as other platforms such as IVR, SMS, social media, etc. So we're excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, you're certainly welcome. And that is a huge responsibility for servicing customers. And when we think about self-service today, we thought it would be important to align on a definition, so we're all understanding how we are approaching the content that we're going to share today. And when we think about self-service at its highest level, it's really providing tools and information that allow customers to address his or her issue without interaction with a live agent. We know the benefits are creating consistency, cost reduction, and really allowing customers to have control, which sometimes leads to higher customer satisfaction and a higher emotional return. So in this current crisis, we have seen self-service emerge as a channel of necessity. And I know, Brent, you'll share a little bit about how that's changed for PayPal over the next few minutes. But thinking about that definition, can you please give us a couple of examples of what PayPal's doing on self-service?
Yeah, sure. So really, if you kind of think about it in two different ways. One of those is what we call self-help, where the customer is being provided information such as FAQs or articles or walkthroughs, where we're trying to explain to them how to accomplish something, or giving them information that they can read to perhaps understand more about their situation.
Okay.
And then we've got our more active self-service, where we're actually performing functions for the customer within our tools. So at PayPal, those would be things such as checking on the status of a refund, filing a dispute, following up on payments, performing account maintenance, etc. Both of these have historically been big components of the self-service space, But I will say, as time has passed, we're shifting more and more to an automated focus. And so static FAQs and articles, while important, are changing into more dynamic interactive workflows, or in some cases, interactions through our chatbot.
Mm-hmm. And that gives customers a little more control and helps them hopefully resolve sooner. I know that your strategy before the crisis was a very focused one. And let's just hear a couple things about how you were focused before March on delivering PayPal's self-service strategy.
Yeah, sure. So we have fairly extensive roadmaps across all of our products. And really, as we think about our objectives, we can categorize it in two main ways. So one of those is to bring operational efficiencies and effectiveness to the business. A lot of self-service is about trying to help the customer so they don't necessarily need to interact with a teammate live. It's also about more accurate routing to provide first call resolution. But at the same time, we need to be careful that we don't overdo it. And a big part of what PayPal's focused on is building frictionless experiences. So we want to understand through technology and information that we have on hand where you are in your journey and what we can do to make it easier for you to find the solutions that you need. You know, all too often, customers can get caught up in an endless number of clicks on a website, or perhaps a series of frustrating menus in the IVR. So a big part of our focus is understanding the context of where you are and the data that we have on hand to try and make sure that your experience is progressive and we can get you where you need to be quickly.
And we're looking for that effortless experience. Earlier in the week, Scott Merritt reminded us that we are unified as CX leaders in providing effortless experiences for our customers, and I really liked that quote. I know that these foundational elements of your strategy remain, but starting in March when the crisis hit and things really started to change in the world, you had a variety of things that you had to do to build on this existing strategy. Let's get a poll question now and understand from the audience's perspective really how much their volume has changed and moved to self-service since mid-March or so when the crisis hit. And audience, if you just please share with us how it's changed. Has it increased by less than 20, more than 20? Has it decreased, or it hasn't changed at all? Let us know about that. And Brent, from PayPal's perspective, what kind of change have you seen in self-service volume?
Yeah, so we fell into that first bucket. Our overall abatement rates rose by just under 10% across the channels. A lot of that had to do with the strategies we were deploying on things such as Help Center or an increased usage of chatbot, which we'll talk about more in just a moment.
Okay. All right. So increase by more than 20 is our top answer there, and that is extraordinary when we think about the work that went into making that happen and delivering more self-service while agents were trying to get set up to work from home or whatever the cases were for people. So that's an extraordinary pivot for agility, I would say there. And so you told me a story about mid-March and what happened when the crisis really started to hit. And can you share some examples of some things that you did to accommodate for that volume increase and to make sure that you were servicing your customers?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, as you mentioned, we've been watching the COVID crisis for a while and preparing for changes in our operations, but it was really around mid-March when a lot of the shutdowns began to happen across the globe and we needed to quickly adapt. You know, like many of you out there, we were losing the ability to provide phone support as teammates were needing to go home. And although the contact centers were able to provide equipment, bandwidth issues and other technology challenges can sometimes make it difficult to deliver calls to somebody at their house. And so what we did was, of course, still keeping our original objectives in mind, but we accelerated some of the activities that we had planned to do over time. And a big part of that was to accelerate our messaging roadmap. So we quickly adjusted the way that we present our contact channels on our websites. We equipped teammates to be able to take messages at home. We also put in the routing mechanisms to be able to deliver messages across the globe so that we could take advantage of teammates working those different time zones, or English-speaking teammates across the globe being able to handle messages from really any English-speaking country. But along with this, any messaging experience at PayPal begins with the bot, the chat bot. And so we did deploy some technologies to improve the skill sets and capabilities of our chatbots to get ahead of some of this volume. We also looked at changes on our help center. We deployed some additional features that would give customers quick information on certain statuses in their account and be able to hopefully give them more of what they need right up front, and not have everybody ending up needing to reach out to our teammates. The intelligence that we had to put in place to help manage this based on the country you were in, the particular situation that you were contacting about, or the context that we had about your customer experience was extremely important.
Mm-hmm. And I know that the work with cross-functional teams really mattered at PayPal as you were making these changes so quickly. I know breaking down those internal silos to communicate with other departments was a big focus of your and your teams at this point as well, right?
It was. So, you know, anytime that you need to adjust your strategy and phone is not as prevalent as it was before, customers will still try to find a way. And so Google became a favorite of a lot of our customers as they looked for other ways to reach PayPal via phone. And in some cases, those calls landed in areas that we partnered with, our sales team being a good example. And so both on the call center side as well as in the chat side, we worked closely with that team to understand what they were getting in terms of service. We actually kind of midway through all of this deployed a chat bot that sits in front of their online chat experience to help separate out those sales versus service contacts, so that we could ensure that the partners could focus on what it was they needed to, and that we could get the service contacts over to us quickly so the customer need wasn't delayed.
And so during this crisis, with these new changes, building on your strategy already, there are a number of things as we're moving into new normal that we wanted to talk about for what you're focusing on now. Share a couple of these with us, please.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's clear that adapting to the new norm means keeping a close handle on the digital needs, ensuring that messaging remains a top priority, especially as we're still working through the challenges of a lot of our teammates needing to work from home. And so I think messaging will remain and continue to accelerate, and the self-service capabilities around that will continue to grow. It's also been important that we monitor customer feedback and volume patterns so that we know where it is people are trying to go, what it is that they're needing to do. And then an interesting thing that we've been talking about was really coming out of this, the potential need for customers to have more human contact. So people just wanting to talk to other people, frankly, and that could translate into phone calls. And so as we bring back up the phones in certain markets, you know, it's been something that we've talked about, is that we want to deploy the ability to use more scheduled callback capabilities, where customers can reach out to us via phone, but indicate a time that they would prefer to be called back. It allows us to balance out those call volumes and make sure that they can get answered in an appropriate manner.
It's a very interesting time. We know that this crisis has accelerated digital, and it's absolutely here to stay. And so having a solid self-service roadmap and strategy to service your customers is critically important. But in the near term, that human touch need and how customers are feeling the need to talk to us and ensure things are handled the first time is something that we're seeing across the board. There's a few things that we wanted to share with everyone today that we feel are important considerations for the future. As we look for silver linings in what we've been through and what we've learned, we think there are some great lessons learned. And just a few of them are on the screen here. One of them that we're seeing with our clients at PTP is looking at the tech stack that they have already invested in to ensure that they're getting every dollar they can as return on that investment. So how much of the tech stack is being unused, and how much can we roll out and deploy? And Brent, I know that you have done some things related to that, that got new services out and took advantage of technology that you already had. You talked about accelerating the roadmap and how quickly you got things out. And then I think there are a few other lessons learned you wanted to share with the audience today.
Yeah, so I think configurability is key for a quick reaction to the market. So I'm sure that a lot of you have certain pieces of your technology that are table driven. Perhaps you can go into the website configurations and change the way that something is displayed. So at PayPal, that's been a big component of our self-service offerings, is building things in a way that we can control what is displayed without the need to do a full code deployment. Mm-hmm. And so like many businesses, certain markets of ours were fully rolled out from a configurability standpoint. Other markets are still in the process of rolling certain things out. And so as we worked our way through this crisis, when there was a need to change the way that phones were displayed and try to promote messaging, having that configurability to be able to quickly do that within minutes was very important. And so we want to ensure that really across the globe, across all of our markets, that we've got that capability so that, you know, should something again happen in the future, hopefully not quite to this scale, but that we can continue to react quickly, because it's important as customers are flocking to the website or flocking to the phones, that we're doing all we can to be able to give them service in the right manner and not create any delays for them trying to resolve their problem. And so along those lines, really keeping those customer needs during this crisis is top of mind. So in our case, you know, we had a lot of businesses who needed to maintain their ability to receive payments and process business online. We actually had a surge in new customers who were coming to us because they were needing to move their businesses from traditional brick and mortar to more of a virtual. And then we, of course, have customers on the consumer side who are needing to send money to family and friends. And so at a time like this, those needs become critically important. If I'm a business and I'm needing to switch over to virtual, I need to make sure that it happens quickly and effectively. So as we were deploying our tools and thinking about service strategies and addressing some of the challenges they may have, that was always top of mind. And then really the last thing, as we're displaying here, is keeping a close watch on employee needs. So I think we've all dealt with this in different ways as employees have had to move to working from home, and the challenges that go along with balancing work and life in that situation. And so we have our employees, like in the operations side or in my own space and the product side, where they've been very busy dealing with the COVID crisis and needing to make adaptations to the products and service models. And so it's been a very, very busy time over these last few months. And so we want to make sure that, you know, we're taking care of people and giving them the opportunity to find rest or to balance out their needs. But then, of course, there's the contact center teammates. So we upended their whole world when we asked them, you know, to please go home and in some cases take calls from home. In other cases, move over to more of a messaging type of interaction. And so there was quite a bit of change, and just really keeping top of mind their needs and what's going on in their home life is something that we've definitely been considering along the way.
Those are all great things. I know that we have a couple minutes that if we have any questions in the audience, please go ahead and put those in your chat box, and Brent and I will do our best to respond. So that would be great to hear from the audience if there are any questions for Brent on the work that he's been focused on, or anyone for PTP. And in the meantime, we'd like to ask the second poll question, and this is really about, at PTP, we know that strategies have changed. We know that the world has been upended, and if there are additional conversations you would like to have with us, we would love to continue the conversation, to talk more a little bit about our approach to helping look at tech stacks that may have opportunity to have more functionalities and features deployed, talking about how to build those bots, and talking about some of the things that we've done for many years in helping focus on customer experience and transforming it. So we'd love to talk more with you guys, so let us know and we will be happy to reach out. And Brent, as we gather this last poll question, any parting words or words of advice to your fellow CX leaders on the phone about how to make it through into the new normal and be as positive and just find a silver lining in what we've all been going through?
Yeah, so I think PayPal's in a similar situation to a lot of the companies out there, that there's uncertainty as we move forward. So we're certainly not through this yet. Although we have learned how to adapt to a lot of what's going on, we're not going to return to the way it was. I think it's just simple to really understand that we need to think about things differently, and in 6, 8 months, 12 months from now, be able to operate in a model that works for some of the things that we're seeing today. And so I would just really encourage people to continue thinking about the way that your tech stacks are arranged, the way that things are configured, what makes the most sense from an operational perspective in terms of your channel mix and where you need to direct customers. Thinking about ways to do things offline or in different markets if you're a global company. There's certainly ways to take advantage of agents and teammates around the globe to service different needs. So it's definitely something we continue to think through, and we'll see where it all goes.
Thank you for that. And we have time to address a couple questions from our audience. When we consider the issues that may cause a person to contact customer service, what shifts, if any, are you observing so far?
Yeah, so for PayPal, a lot of the contacts that we were getting were transactional in nature. So of course, we've got customers who were making payments, and then also merchants who were receiving payments. So in the early days of the crisis, dealing with some of the shifts where businesses were struggling to deliver products to customers, PayPal offers the ability to assist a customer with filing to get a refund. So that was something that we saw quite a bit. Also, a lot of calls, as I mentioned earlier, related to new accounts. So customers coming in who just opened a new account, either trying to take care of something from a personal perspective or shifting their business to more of a virtual model. There's a lot of questions that come along with setting up that account, going through some of the initial stages that are required to get yourself established. And so we saw a lot of that happening. Kind of some core components of our contact types really accelerated over time.
That's an interesting dynamic that I think if we had created some hypotheses around, maybe we wouldn't have predicted before the crisis, acquisition of new customers, but that's great that you could acquire and continue to service your existing customers. Another question, someone wants to know what percentage of your interactions can be handled by bots at this point, and is that something that you can share with us?
Yeah, so our bot containment runs around 50% right now.
Okay.
That is growing every time we build a new skill or we expand into a new market. It gives us the ability to improve those interactions and resolve more customer situations.
Okay, awesome. So just wrapping up here, again, we wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. Brent, thank you for that. We really appreciate the insight into the PayPal self-service strategy. We hope at PTP to keep the conversation going. And Richard, thanks for having us. I hope everyone stays safe and well and has a great day. And I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Crystal. Appreciate it. So everybody, we appreciate your listening through that. We appreciate Crystal and Brent, you sharing your thoughts with us. And just a few things before we let you go. we would like to announce something a little unconventional, but nevertheless very exciting. It is a serious yet offbeat kind of an activity, but we know it's going to be, I think really an interesting activity that our team is going to get involved with you all on. It's the launch of our Frost & Sullivan 2020 CC Awards that are rewarding excellence and innovation in customer service. So they are the People's Choice Awards of the customer service industry. They are covering a broad range of categories as well. Nominations for entries are now being accepted, and you're going to be receiving more details on this as we go through the coming weeks, but you get an idea of some of the categories that are there. Tomorrow we will have Rich Correa join us. He's the Director of Product Marketing at NICE, and Nancy Jameson, who's a Principal Analyst at Frost & Sullivan. They will be talking about ensuring employee performance and engagement in times of change. We do have the monthly webinar week series, but of course, in addition to that, we also have the ensuring employee performance and engagement in times of change, which is tomorrow. As just mentioned, we've got the customer contact session on transitioning to new customer and organizational dynamics. That's the week that will take place June 15 through 19, and July 13 through 17 is the customer experience ecosystem. And then in August, we have another one 18 through 24. I mentioned these folks tomorrow, so make sure you join for that. And then we also have the Customer Engagement Leadership Council. In-person and virtual events are what comprises that membership, as well as a significant amount of collaboration on critical issues and conversations that happen throughout the year with our team, with you, and each other. Also, when you sign out of this on Zoom, a survey will pop up, which is our benchmark survey for customer engagement leadership. It is underway, and your participation will add significant value. It only applies to those who have contact centers. So make sure you own a contact center or are responsible for one. And this will be a survey that you'll get a significant amount of value on. You're going to need your KPIs handy to assist in gathering key metrics. It will be sent to you at the end of the webinar, but as I said, a pop-up does take place, and we look forward to seeing those results. A quick poll question: what you'd like to hear more about, the Customer Engagement Leadership Council, the benchmark survey that I just mentioned, or indeed our customer contact event, Mind Exchange series of events that are the in-person events that we're looking forward to doing once we're able to. So we just take a moment, take a look at that. Okay. So just to thank you very much for your attendance. We hope you've enjoyed this. Do come tomorrow, so it'll be at the same time, 11 o'clock Eastern, in the same place. And we ask you at this point that if you are not a member of the Customer Engagement Leadership Council, if you could drop off, and we will shift to the next session, which will be a private session with Brent and with Crystal.